Well, I thought we were. And welcome to another exciting adventure of the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael, and tonight's show is pre recorded due to a conflict I had, and these three lovely guests lovelyly agreed to step in and pre record. So you guys get the bonus of three guests. So, and I have to say and point out, I have never in the 3 seasons of doing this show had an intro start and stop like it did just now. I was like, that threw me for a second, and I was glad it actually played. So that lets me know something's going on with the show tonight. So we're going to have some fun tonight. And my guests are faces that I know you all know, and to do an intro would just be like spending time, just that could be better spent. But I'm going to have them do intros anyway because I think it's fun to see how people introduce themselves. So I am going to turn it over to the amazing trio that's on the screen. And apparently, Pete is going to go first because he pointed to the wrong direction.
There you go. There you go.
So, welcome everyone.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And so, Pete, we'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Pete Ghrist. I've been investigating the paranormal since around 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. But I've really been interested in it since way before then. Always been into Halloween, spooky stuff, things like that. I started the 2013 Griffith High School Paranormal Society, like you got right here, at the school I work at as a school resource officer. It usually has somewhere around 100 students in it each year. They learn about history. They donate towards the historical locations that we go to. It's been over $7,000 since that time has been donated. Then a lot of the parents that were on there just decided where they were like, hey, we need to be able to go a little bit further. We want to be able to go to some places that we can't reach by just a school bus. And so we started Northwest Indiana Paranormal 2018. Combined between those two groups, we've done probably close to 300 investigations. We do community service work. And the main thing is history with all of those things. Now I am part of a project called History Alive with these two and several other people as well. and really looking forward to that story and how it develops moving forward. It's just a fantastic show with an awesome cast and crew. Just had a blast working with everybody, and I'm looking forward to it continuing in the next step.
Very cool. And I love how you guys are all working to keep the history alive. And Kara, I had to break my gentleman rule of women first, so I'll let you go second.
Pete pointed wrong, so that was really all on him. So I'm Kara Phillip. I have, I'm the classic, grew up with a ghost in my house story. And eventually, I can go through twists and turns, but meh. History probably is what really brought me to the paranormal. Also, I volunteered at first cleaning up and then eventually helping lead the paranormal tours at a now decommissioned maximum security prison in my area until they ended their relationship with the paranormal, which was, just devastating. But we did that for a long time. And so I still volunteer locally to stay involved in history, but my role in the paranormal lately has been, I have a talk show on Paraflix called Into the Obscure. We finished filming our 3rd season and it's being edited right now. So eventually we'll get started on season 4 too. And so Into the Obscure on Paraflix. And we are also, I'm with them and a couple other wonderful people in the cast, as well as the crew working on History Alive. So again, it's always all about the history and preserving that. And that's how, the paranormal comes alive too.
Very cool. And then we turn to Lee.
Hey, again, thanks for having us on, Michael. My name is Lee Jacobs. As you can tell from my accent, I am from Kentucky, unlike the other two that just spoke. So me and one of the other the cast members, we come from very small towns in Kentucky. And what got me started into the paranormal, also history. Both of my parents have masters in history. Served on several boards of historic sites around central and eastern Kentucky. Did a lot of volunteer work with that. And getting grouped with Kara and Pete and Amelia and Jamie. It's incredible. History Alive is an incredible concept. We're so excited to be working on this together. And it was, after the first day that we all met and, we had a conference call and that, that doesn't count. We met, it was like we had been friends for decades and we just hit the ground running and it's been just a nonstop roller coaster since then. It's been fantastic. So can't say enough great things about the cast and crew.
Which leads me to an interesting question with you guys being in such various locations. How did you end up getting together?
So I guess we kind of have to give credit where credit's due on that one. So Darren Zancan, our director and creator of History Alive, knew us all through various avenues and just felt that we would all mesh well together and kind of threw us in that mixing bowl just to see what would happen. And we came out great as far as I'm concerned. We, like I said, it was like we'd known each other for decades and we just hit the ground running.
Very cool. So does Darren just give you guys free reign to pick locations or where to go to, or is everything prearranged and you guys just show up and are like, hey, here we go?
I show up where I'm told and I bring my cot.
Yes.
Yeah, you're the brave one.
Yeah.
So I don't arrange it. That's for sure.
No, pretty much wherever the call sheet says we're going to be, that's where we'll be. So this last investigation was really nice because it was only about an hour from my house. So I got to go home and sleep in my bed. I was going to say every night, but let's face it, every morning. It didn't have to sleep on a cot with in 1,000-degree heat in that place we were. So
Yeah, like we said, Kara was the brave one, and Jamie.
And Jamie.
And Jamie,
Yeah.
Both of them were brave. We were probably about 18 miles down the road at a Ramada. So,
I don't know. I've driven past that Ramada, and I'm not sure who the bravest is.
yeah.
I feel like I was not the bravest. I left the lights on. I slept where there was air conditioning. So and I was not at the Ramada, so I feel like I wasn't.
Yeah, I think Jamie was the
bravest.
roughing it. Yeah, he was out in the hallway with no air conditioning.
In the hallway.
In the hallway.
It was about 94 degrees, I think, in Kentucky that weekend, and whatever temperature was outside, that was the temperature inside the building as well. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, you're lucky that way. Here in Texas, man, we can be like feels like 100 degrees outside, and then you go inside when there's no AC, and you can add like 5-10 degrees to that.
Oh yeah,
it was rough. Yeah.
Yeah, my brother lives in Arizona, and people always say it's dry heat, and he's like, it's a bunch of BS. He's like, it's like a hair dryer's blowing in your face when you're out there. So I can only imagine what Texas is like.
Well, actually, funny thing you say that is there, because I always was told Arizona is hotter. And so I would look at the Weather Channel sometimes to see what our weather was. And when we were hotter than Arizona, I'd be like, oh my God, we're hotter than Arizona. And I'd be like, this is not an award we really want to win, but hey, we'll take the accolade.
Yeah. That's why we like it up here in the Chicago area, because you can sometimes go through all 4 seasons in 1 week. In springtime or fall, you'll end up wearing a coat, and then the next, 2 hours later, it's hot as hell outside. So, yeah, we get the best of everything up here.
Oh, I know.
Let me say that Pete doesn't get to discuss what clothes he wears and what weather, because I have never seen that man without a hoodie on.
It's true.
Whether it's been 20 degrees or 100 degrees, Pete always has on a hoodie.
It's my comfort thing. It's just how I dress all the time. But yeah, it's weird.
Well, I can tell you, I spent 6 years living in Lansing, Illinois. I know I was wearing a hoodie all the time because the wind is, especially in the wintertime.
Oh, well,
that ice hurts.
Yeah.
But summertime, I think it's just because you're so used to wearing it with the really cold fall, winter. Spring is still a little chilly. It's like, just leave it on.
my day job is police officer. I've been one for 22 years. And so I'm used to like wearing layers. So it's kind of like, I'm wearing long sleeves when it's hot outside sometimes and things like that based on whatever uniform of the day is. So I think I just got used to wearing those layers with like a vest over my uniform and everything like that. So I really don't get that hot. But it's just a comfort thing, I guess. And I'm just used to it. It'll be like freezing outside and I'll just be standing outside with like a T-shirt on. And it doesn't bother me because I'm used to doing that kind of stuff. But in the summer, same thing. I'll just be wearing something like a hoodie and I won't be hot.
Well, thank you, Pete, for your service as a police officer.
No, I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else with my life.
Very cool. And anybody else have service or anything background?
No, I'm just a finance director for a healthcare system. So I don't have anything cool or fascinating like that.
I'm a nurse.
Well, that's
very cool.
Yes.
It is. I love it, but I'm just administration now, so So
yeah, you're on my side of the world now.
Yeah,
we're in administration, so
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've all served our time, and so I'm not going to fault you for being behind a desk, because my career when I was going through it was behind a desk. So I was glad when I got to go out in the field, but then in the summer, I was so glad when I was in the office.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
So what, and this is for all three of you, is what was like your aha moment of in the paranormal that made you go, this is what I need to do, this is what I want to do, this is my calling, and what impact did it have on you at that time?
Ooh,
Wow, that's a zinger right off the bat.
that's a big question.
Oh yeah, let's get them out of the way so we can have fun later.
Well, there you go.
You mean like our first experience with paranormal, where it was kind of
Right.
like, wow, this is what. I know that I was probably around 19, and we were living with my grandfather because he was in hospice, and he lived. We were kind of helping take care of him, and I had like this basement area that was sectioned off. It was like you were really living in the entire basement, but they put like a couple things together to make it look like a room. And his drafting room was down there because he was a mechanical engineer, and he actually helped design Epcot Center, which is pretty cool. And yeah, super cool, really good guy. And he ended up passing away at home. And a couple nights after that, I was downstairs and I woke up to what felt like somebody pulling the blanket at the edge of the bed, just pulling it just slightly. And so I held the top, and you don't look down there because you could just sense I'm going to look down there and there's going to be something terrible down there, So I'm holding on to this and I'm like clenching my eyes shut. And finally, I just let go of the blanket and it got pulled completely off me onto the ground. And I heard what sounded like, and I never understood this because I went in there and I didn't see anything. It was like a bucket of ice being dumped on the ground inside of the drafting room. Just something just knocked over in there real loud. And I knocked over my alarm clock, ran all the way up the stairs. And from that point on, I slept up on the couch in the living room. But so it was terrifying, right? But at the same time, there was like this rush, from dealing with it, where you were kind of like, wow, like, what was that? Like, you wanted to experience that rush again. But at the same time, you wanted to discover what it was that caused that. So not too long after that, I just started watching the shows. I was real big into Paranormal State. I'm really looking forward to meeting Ryan Buell in a couple weeks. That's just he was always a big thing for big influence for me. But then it just turned into going to Old Lake County Jail one time when somebody said, "Hey, you want to come along?" And a bunch of cops went there, and we had a couple experiences in there, and I was hooked. So after that, I was like, this is what I want to do.
No, that's really cool. And I have so many questions on that, but I want to give Kara and Lee a chance to answer as well.
Right, same order. Well, I'll go. So I grew up, you guys, I'm sorry. I could feel my makeup getting into my eyes. It's been a long day. I'm gonna start crying. No, I grew up with a ghost in my house. She left when I was 12, and I could tell that whole story, but that's whatever. And I would see ghosts. I thought this was all normal in my mom's side of the family. It was a pretty normal conversation. I didn't think that much of it until I realized I actually moved to West Michigan for 10 years, and I realized that wasn't normal conversations people had with each other. It's a little different in Chicago, and I grew up Chicago Catholic, and it's a very just people are very comfortable with these conversations. And honestly, for me, because I was always so comfortable with it, it was when I was volunteering at the prison I was volunteering at, and we started doing these paranormal tours. And, between the experiences I had, but more importantly, I always say I love people. I love experiences with people. I love people so much. And I think that's why I love the paranormal too, because it's our continued experiences, but sharing those experiences with the people on the tours, and they get to talk about it. They didn't feel comfortable talking about their experiences. They didn't get to talk to people about ghosts, and and they get to share that with you. That was probably the most inspiring for me, that everybody got to really kind of share that space together for that time. So that's how I got into having like a podcast, and then the talk show, and then now with History Alive, just to be able to share it with people, because I know how powerful it was for me when I started seeing the paranormal TV, when I started to be able to go into situations that I got to share with people. So for me, like, the inspiring thing is to keep sharing that and still having that platform that people can feel comfortable sharing.
Very cool. And
So
how about you, Lee?
So I guess my first experience is in the paranormal world was my first house in college. There were 4 of us that lived in there, and man, what a crap show that house was, with 4 dudes and 3 dogs, and all of the girls that we were seeing at the time staying there all of the time. And so, one night, everybody, we'd had a party or whatever, everybody goes to bed. And the next morning, the girl that I was dating at the time, she gets up to go take a shower to go to work. And I hear this like blood curdling scream. And the next thing I know, she is like jumping across me in the bed and like pulling the covers up over her head. And I'm like, what in the hell's going on? And she said, there's an old man in a black hat standing in your hallway. So immediately, yeah. So of course, trying to be super stud college boy, I jump up and I'm like, okay, well, I guess me and an old man in the hallway are getting ready to throw down. And I go out there and there's nobody out there. And I was like, okay, it's early. Maybe, she didn't have her wits about her yet, whatever. Well, 2 mornings later, the same exact thing at the same exact time happened to her and one of my roommate's girlfriends. So that just kind of like set me on that course. And then, like I said, growing up with parents with masters in history, they led me into the history thing, led me into volunteering at some of these historical sites in Kentucky, led to, like Kara talked about, doing the paranormal tours at these historical sites and doing quote unquote ghost hunts. And it was, it was really cool because we got to, I've gotten to work with Grant Wilson quite a few times and deal with him. I still call and text him on occasion whenever I need some advice or try to figure something out. But, it's just kind of led us down this really cool path and led me to these guys and History Alive and Darren and DMZ Productions and the whole party that we're having now. So it's been, like I said, a crazy roller coaster ride, but I'm so happy to be here and so happy to be able to share the stories of these places we investigate with people who might not know they exist or may never have the opportunity to learn about them.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. And so, Pete, you being an officer, it kind of, I know there are some things you can't talk about, and I've actually had officers on my show one season, and they were like, we have to be very careful what we say and how we say it. But have you ever been on call and had paranormal stuff going on the call?
Not necessarily to me, but what somebody said. There was 2 different occasions. The main one that stands out in my mind was we actually had there was a woman who had fell on the floor. She was laying there for quite a while, and she was going in and out of consciousness. She couldn't get to the phone, and finally, when she was able to kind of crawl over to the phone, she called 911 from it. And then so we had to go over and get a key that was hidden in the front yard so we could get it in the house. And when we opened up the door, she was like this, huddled in the corner, like with her hands over her head. And she was like screaming. And so we were like, what's going on? What's going on? And she said that right before we came in the door, that there was a creature with black wings and like a very scary face and black sunken in eyes, and it was just walking towards her, and she described it as the angel of death. And she said that it just vanished the second that we opened up the door when we came in. And we were kind of like sitting there and we're kind of like looking at each other. And then I remember my sergeant's like, we should probably clear the house just to make sure there isn't somebody messing with her in here. So everybody goes through there and we're all like checking just to make sure there's nobody else in the house. But then you go leave and you're like thinking about it and you're like, wow, did she really see something there? Was there, something coming towards her, prior to us coming in? We'll never know, but she saw something.
Man,
it's interesting. Yeah, and what's interesting is I know from experience dealing with someone who was tracking Mothman, he has been known to operate in Chicago. And so when you said the wings and the sunken eyes, my first thought that popped in my head was, did she see Mothman?
Yeah, the way that she described it, she was just terrified. So I don't know what it was exactly, but she described it as she believed it was the angel of death. That's what she said. But if you look at pictures of both of them, like kind of renditions, they're very similar.
They are. Which brings an interesting question. Do you think Mothman could be misidentified as the angel of death or vice versa?
That's a good question. What do you think, Kara?
Well, don't we all just interpret what we see based on the things we know or what we're thinking about? So if there's no, like, in your brain wheelhouse for Mothman, maybe all you point of reference is like an angel of death. So maybe. But I have to say, like, whenever in my experience, like, as people are dying, nobody really ever describes that. They describe something else. So that's why I don't know, maybe that's just like what's in their wheelhouse to like picture. But I don't know. I think Mothman's pretty mothy, right? I don't know. I've never seen Mothman. But maybe not too angel-y, but I guess we're only able to describe what we have words for. So I don't know.
Well, and I was going to ask, man, if you're comparing the two, did it have, that BBL like the statue of Mothman has up in West Virginia? Like, they emphasized on the butt a little bit too much on that statue. So I always refer to that as BBL Mothman. So
yeah. And if that's how they picture the angel of death, if that's
well, then good on the angel of death too. Way to work your glutes, bro.
Doing
good
squats.
job.
No, I'm laughing because there's a city near here that's like, well, I say near, it's 3 hours away. Jefferson, Texas. It's one of the most haunted cities in Texas, and the whole town embraces it to the point that they have Bigfoot statues hidden around the city. And right across from where this History Hunts and Legends event for the paranormal community happens is a Bigfoot statue. And when I was with the paranormal team, the Texas Boo Crew, these two ladies were like, and I was with them, and we were hugging and like kind of posing with them. And the guy that travels with the mud rat takes a photo and he goes, "Man, they did a good job with Bigfoot's butt on this statue." Yeah, the ladies started to smack it and like have fun, and it's like, yeah, and it's funny when we think of these statues. It's like, yeah, I wonder, if they're sitting there thinking when they're designing these, going, yeah, let's do this so that people will pay more attention to this statue.
You know what? Yeah.
So now in Texas, there's BBL Bigfoot too. I'm okay.
Everybody's gotta, show it off if they got it,
And you were just talking about the ladies smacking it, and I'm sure that Kara and Pete will feel exactly what I'm getting ready to say. Why can I picture Jamie doing this? That sounds like such a Jamie thing to do. So I thought it was really cool, and like I feel like the three of us are all in professions where where you may encounter some paranormal here and there, and that's that's when I just mentioned Jamie. It made me think of something. So Jamie and I worked at a hospital system in Lexington, Kentucky together. That's how he and I met. And the office building we used to be in, there were multiple people who passed away in that building. And it was just an office, but people, they worked there for a very long time. We'll just say that.
Die at their desk.
But yep. Jamie and I were those two guys that if they needed somebody to come in at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning or stay till after midnight, Jamie and I were the ones to do it. We didn't care, and we both heard or saw so many things go down in that building while we were working. That we were the only ones in the building, the elevator moving on its own. You would hear voices all around you, radio turn on and off at people's desks. And it just like hearing Pete's story and then talking about Jamie just made me think about that, and I'm sure that you've run into things that you question as well. So,
and you just act like it's normal. You just
absolutely.
Yeah. You just okay.
Yep. Sure.
Okay.
And what's interesting, Lee, you mentioned the elevators, and a place where I volunteer at, the elevators would run every once in a while and open, and everybody be like, nobody called the elevator. Or the lights would start messing up where you push up and both light up at the same time, and it's like, what is going on? And they stay lit, and so they're all like, oh, the elevator's glitching. And I said, how come the doors are opening, randomly? Yeah. And somebody goes, oh, well, the elevators are set to do that so that they can keep the cables lubricated and everything. And I was like, that actually sounds like a clever way to cover up a haunted experience.
Yeah, I learned long ago not to try to put logic on some of these things. Just like you said, if you can debunk it immediately, then cool. If you try to debunk it and can't figure out why, then you just kind of let it go. And that's where Jamie and I were in that building. We're just like, I don't know. So we'll just leave. You leave us alone. We'll leave you alone. We'll have a happy work time together. So
yeah. And what's interesting too, talking about debunking, is I was on an investigation, of all places, a jail, of course. And they had the first floor as museum. The jail was upstairs. Well, I'm in the kitchen area, and I look down, and all of a sudden I notice this chair is rocking that has a doll in it. And I go, hey, look, the chair's rocking. And they go, did you bump it? I go, I don't know. Can you stop? And it stopped right away.
Oh!
And I was like, okay. And I was sitting there thinking, well, maybe I bumped it. And so I bumped it, and I was like, yeah, I could get the motion going. But then I was like, okay, stop. But I could never get it to stop like it did. And so I reached out to Ben Hansen because I was watching Paranormal Fact or Faked at the time. And I told him about that, and he goes, kudos to you. You have made it as a paranormal investigator because you tried to debunk what you saw. And I was like, normally, it's like, I don't look for that. But I was like, that moment, I was like, I felt so validated.
Yeah.
And that's one of those awesome experiences that you'll always remember too, is especially with him telling you, hey, well, welcome to the club, pal. So
I know.
Every time I've met Ben Hansen, I was going like this, like looking up, because he's so tall. If you've ever met him in person, he's super, super tall.
I haven't, but I have met somebody else who's like 6'9", and I'm like, we just call him the friendly giant because we're like, dude, you never get lost in the crowd, do you?
Well, I wish Amelia would call me the friendly giant instead of Sasquatch. Like, that would be cool.
You could probably change the narrative. I could work on that.
Yeah. Let's try to. That would make me feel a lot more self-confident. I'm only 6'6", though, not 6'9". God, that is gigantic. So,
yeah. Well, I'm 5'9", so anything taller than me, I'm like, y'all are giants.
Well, It's cool that you're talking about debunking because with History Alive, that's one of the big things that Darren pointed out with this series is that he doesn't want us doing stuff like, making stuff up or I think I just got touched on the back, or if it's not something that we can show on camera, or if it's not something that we can document some way that we can show the audience that's watching it, then it doesn't get put in. It's not one of those things. You have so many shows, and to each their own and everything, but you have so many shows where people are going to be saying, a cold wind just came through here, and there's no way for the people that are watching it to verify that. Now, if you have like a mel meter sitting there and you're watching the temperature on there and you got a camera on it, it shows it. That's what Darren's getting at. He wants this to be a show that's very credible. He wants it to be something that like you feel like you're there with the investigators and experiencing everything that we're experiencing right at home while you're watching it through the TV.
Yes.
No, and that was one of the things that attracted me, that it wasn't just somebody saying, because I'm the worst. Like, I can definitely like see, hear, feel things, but I pretend I can't and I don't believe I can. But that's always one of the things that with shows always would drive me crazy. Somebody saying, oh, there's a ghost here. And you're like, okay, like, sure there is. And because there's no evidence, nothing other than somebody saying it. So I love that that's not what this is all based on. And and fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. And I will say that when Darren and I came to the conversation about me coming on as a member of the cast, I was like, I only have one rule, and that is we fake no evidence. We don't pretend. And if we get something, awesome. If we don't, okay, on to the next one. So I just, that some of these shows, you're right, and like Pete said, to each their own. If you can't document it and verify it, then, I mean, I can tell you there's a ghost behind me right now. Is there? Who knows? And I'm not a fan of that either. So that was one of the things that I really loved when this cast came together, is we all stood on our laurels with that, and everybody stands behind that.
Yeah, and I always find it funny is like, because I've had my shirt plucked, is how I call it. It's like they pinch and pull and let go, but no camera was on me.
Yep.
Or nobody saw it, and I'm like, yeah, but I know I felt it. And to what you were talking about, Kara, as well, as one of the things that I always thought was funny in the shows is you'll see somebody walking into a room and then they go, "Did you hear that?" And you're like, "No, I didn't hear a single thing." And it's like they cut to commercial, and then when they come back, they're like in another room, part of the room. It's like whatever that was like purely just to keep you into the show.
Pure show. And so on that note, that's really funny that he just said that. Team is Michael. We will make you a promise. The last place we investigated, you are going to see in a scene Pete go like this, and Kara turn around. And you will hear what was heard.
Yeah, it was so cool.
You will hear it.
That was incredible.
It's even cooler later. Like, it's cooler on analysis.
Yeah. There's a lot that went on in this episode that we just filmed. That, I mean, especially the first night ironically with the three of us in the room together. It got wild for a while, for sure.
No, that's really cool. And and talking about the shows, the one show that I watched that I thought really gave credibility to the field and like should have been the baseline and everybody should have followed this suit was the original Ghost Hunters, where you remember they would show up and say day 1.
Yes.
Investigation night, or day 2, research day. So you knew it was multiple days. So you knew the footage you were seeing is edited down. But the thing also, though, was the evidence review. They would play it so you could see it or you could hear it. And they even showed everybody sitting at these tables doing the reviews and like tapping each other and going, "Hey, did you hear that? Do you hear something here?" Or, "Hey, do you see that?" And it's like, to me, that was like brilliant how they did that, because one, you knew it took a long time to get all of this, and two, you really felt like you were in every stage of the show. And now when you get shows and they're like, "Oh yeah, we went and investigated here and here's what we found and have a great day," you're like, one, how many days were you there? How many days did you have nothing going on? Or did you go research anything? It's like you're left where a lot of people look at us. And when I say that is, I had an experience on a ghost walk where I went and took photos because I identified myself as a paranormal investigator. And this guy walks up and goes, "What'd you see?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just took a photo."
Yeah.
And so I'm being nice and I say, "Well, I have to take it home and put it on a computer to find out." But Kara, you'll probably appreciate this. What my mind said was, "Well, I have an orb over here, a spirit over here." My camera is like telling me where all these paranormal things are on the screen and, why I took the photo. And it's like, yeah, it's because they make the shows now look like everything is so instant.
Yeah.
Yep. And I will say another thing that really I don't want to say irritates me because that might be a little harsh, but kind of bugs me some is I'm just gonna be plain. These two know me. I shoot straight. There's not a damn demon in every building you go in, man. Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
Correct.
That's one of the things that just absolutely crawls all over me. I'm like, I know it's making for good television, but you're also full of shit, man. Like, there's not an evil entity at literally every corner you turn.
Correct.
If there is, you apparently are bringing it with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
Exactly. That's a him problem, not an everybody else problem.
Well, also, like, you go to these places, you want to make contact with a spirit, and then you have people who make contact with a spirit, and then they run in the other direction, yelling and screaming. And it's like, what is the point of that? I mean, it may look good on camera. Like, maybe some people might think it's scary. I think it's annoying. Yeah. But, again, to each their own. Some of the younger audiences, things like that, might like that kind of stuff. But to me, if you're making contact, that doesn't always happen. So you got to take advantage of it at that point and be like, all right, let's keep talking here while we got its attention.
And on that note, Pete, I was watching Destination Fear when it was Destination Fear, and they went in a location and Dakota goes, "Can you make a sound to let us know you're here?" And they did, and they ran out. And then the next scene is he walks back in with everybody and says, "Hey, I know we told you to make a sound and you did, and we all want to apologize. We ran out on you. Could you please do it again?" And I was like, to me, I had more respect for those four in that moment with all the modern TV shows than the others, because I was like, you guys just went against the grain, because I'm sure you were told to run out and you actually went back in and apologized to a ghost. That took courage.
Well, I think that, like, anybody who says that they never get scared in this is lying. You know what I mean? I mean, there's always situations that you're like, okay, I got to back off of this. This is starting to really get messed up. Things like that. And so, like, in a situation like that, when they ran out, it may happen every now and then. Some people do get scared. And I mean, I've met those four individuals, like, on that show. They're all really nice people. They seem like really professional. They seem that they really want to get evidence and things like that. And so I think they kind of saw that as a missed opportunity at that point. They were like, oh, you know what? We had that, that opportunity right there. We got that. And then, we got freaked out. We ran out. But hey, let's get ourselves back together. Let's go back in there and say, hey, we're ready to talk now, And so I think that's the professional side, that you see in a show like that, that they're going to come in there and be like, hey, you know what, we really do want to communicate with you. And, they're not afraid to show when they are really afraid, of a situation like that. I mean, I've seen episodes where, one of them, like I saw an episode, Chelsea was like crying, you know what I mean? Because it was like that terrifying where they're at. And you could hear the voices, the disembodied voices coming down the hallway at Randolph County Asylum where they were at. And she was like, I am terrified. And you could just see her and you could see the fear in her face, with that. And to me, that's really real. You know what I mean? Like those type of things. And so people go, I never get scared, or the people who are always scared all the time, those type of situations are kind of like far-fetched on either end. But people are going to get freaked out. They are going to run every now and then, just because it's overwhelming. But, when they're willing to say, oh, man, I just got really scared at that point. But, hey, let's all go back in there. Let's try to make contact like they did on those shows. It just really shows, that was really wasn't a performance. It was them being real.
Yep. And I think that all of these shows, they all have their merits. I think that every single one of them did. I love parts of every show. I mean, you're not going to love everything about everything, but I think each show has their merit. And I think that there's a lot of these paranormal investigators like Pete that you were just talking about that show raw emotion. And to me, that's not only does it make for great television, but it's real. And that's something that I think we're striving to do as well. Is you're going to see like the look of shock, or us being confused about something that happens, or even for instance maybe somebody getting angry about an entity we're interacting with because it's not so nice. You were talking about the old Lake County Jail earlier, and I had a nice little run-in with old First Salmons in that location, and he and I did not, let's just say his spirit and I did not get along too well. So that was, I expressed anger in that, and I've like I said, each show has its merit, and a lot of these ladies and gentlemen are really showing raw emotion on that, and I respect that, and I have that makes me want to tune in more.
Mm-hmm. Right, and the authenticity of it. And what I've found interesting is because I've investigated with like Mustafa with the new Ghost Hunters group, and he is very open and honest about it. And we were asking him like, what do you do if you go to a place and for like a day or two nothing happens? He goes, oh, that's easy. We just pack our bags and go to another location. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, because we need something to validate why we're there. Mm-hmm. And if nothing happens yet, we just simply have to move on. And to hear that was like really cool, because we all know you can't guarantee, but it was nice to hear, you don't have a one-time shot and that's it, and then the TV crews leave, because, they could be on an off day. You came on their vacation day, so to speak.
Yep.
Well, what's really interesting is like with my student group, like I said, there's like 100 kids in it, and they're all from all different walks of life, which is what I love the most about the group. Like you'll have somebody who's a cheerleader, somebody who's a football player, somebody who's in the Dungeons and Dragons club, somebody who watches Star Trek, somebody who's in the band, and they're all together on a ghost hunt doing something that they all have in common, right? And then the next day you see them talking to each other, and they have their phones out, and they're showing those pictures to each other, and they never would have spoken to each other ever if it wasn't for being involved in that common interest. And that's what I love most about it. But you have these groups of people, and they kind of like, intermingle. So you'll have like, we'll go to the same place, like the jail 4 times, and we'll take 15 people each time. I drive the bus, and it holds 14 people plus me. So we'll take those kids out there, and one night it'll be off the hook with activity. The next night you go there with a different 15, there isn't much going on. And then you take another group out there, nothing going on, take another group out. Oh my gosh, craziest out of the 4. I think that there's just different people for some reason might be a little bit more connected there, than others, things like that. But one thing, like kind of on a side note, is I feel like students, like kids, maybe they're a little bit more open sometimes to those type of, things, maybe they haven't been, jaded by the world, down to thinking, okay, this is a bunch of garbage by some people, and so they go in there with this just openness to, I want to experience something here. And I think we've gotten some of our best evidence with these kids that are going on their first trip, going in there. And you got a bunch of 14-year-olds that are sitting there, and they come away with better evidence than sometimes my adult group gets. So I think it's really cool.
That is, and you hit on something that I think is something I like to bring awareness to with a lot of people is our generation. We had no paranormal conversations. Nobody talked about it. And we didn't even hear the term ghost until Ghostbusters, the movie, came out. And today, it's like, you have so many paranormal TV shows, you got paranormal movies, that it's like if a student or a kid goes up to someone and says, hey, did you see a ghost? They're not going to be ridiculed like we were, going, oh, you're one of those crazy people. No, they're going to be like, really? You saw a ghost on TV? That's really cool. And so it shows how the generations have changed from where it's like, I like to say, they're standing on our shoulders when we were the ones that were like, I have these experiences, but I can't talk about them because I don't want to end up here. And now it's like we had the courage to say, hey, we're going to tell our story anyway. And like Kara said, create podcast shows. And so it's more out there so that kids now, like you're talking about your students, are more comfortable to come forward and say, oh, I saw a ghost, or I saw something I can't explain. So I think that's really cool that you give them that, and that it is working. And, to see, we kind of all can say, we've accomplished something because we've made a difference.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's actually things like Sam and Colby and stuff like that. These kids come in 14 years old knowing how to use all the equipment.
Yep. Because
they watch these shows on YouTube, and it's really fueling that. Where when we were kids, or when we were in 20 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Older than kids.
Yeah, older, yeah.
It would have been so you would have got made fun of, for going, oh, hey, there's a paranormal club. Oh, okay. Hey, let's go sign up. We had our call out meeting today, and we had 58 kids show up for the call
awesome.
out meeting.
Wow.
Yeah, so cool.
And so it's and they're walking in there with their friends, and here's where you sign up right here, that kind of stuff. And last year we had 101 students, and out of the 101, 86 of them were female.
Oh,
86 of them. So you have sometimes the females are actually braver than the males are when it comes down to it. I mean, I've got this really funny picture of two football players, and they're holding each other's arm like this down in the basement of an old school. And they did, just were taking pictures, and then they were just sitting there holding their arm just because they were freaked out, So I think sometimes the guys are a little afraid that they're going to go there and they're going to look like chickens in front of the girls or something like that. But it's a good mixture usually and stuff. But last year it was way more girls than guys. But today, it was pretty 50-50 with people coming out. And we usually start off with that about around somewhere in the 50s or 60s after the first day. And then the first trip we go on, I have 15 more coming in, 20 more.
Love it.
And, stuff like that, just because it's, such a big deal for these people to join. So it is very, very mainstream, like you said. And so it's a lot more accepted now. So definitely gives them the opportunity to get more engrossed in it. and actually come with that experience from watching things on the internet.
I agree. And one of the things I like to do sometimes is, like having mixed groups on, that are male and female, and try to have at least one of each on the show representing. But when I come across teams that are like all women, I'm like, who? My first reaction is, yeah, I need to put them on because it's like I haven't heard of many of those. And so I'm like, maybe others haven't. And I'm like, women are just as involved as men in the paranormal, and maybe even a little bit more sensitive in abilities than men. And the reason I say a little bit is I'm a firm believer we all have the gifts and abilities, but women, for some reason, are brought up and taught it's good that you have that, nurture that. Where guys, if we go up and say, "Yeah, I heard this voice," they're like, "Oh, what are you nuts? What's going on with you that you're hearing voices?" And so I think the guys had a notch down because of society. And like Pete was saying, you don't want to be teased, so you push it down and suppress it where it's more open and accepting from the women.
Well, and I know that I know Pete and our other castmate Jamie will testify that the two women that work with us are definitely a couple of badasses. So, and that's the only term I can use. I've yet to see either of them show any fear whatsoever in places that I know that we have. So. But no, I can't say enough great things. It's cool that you brought that up about Amelia and Kara. Like we are blessed to have them on our team.
That's
and the team I was with formerly, there were a couple of female members, but they really didn't do much investigating here and there. Like if we did a public event at a historic site or something, they were involved, but working with these two has just been awesome. It's given me a whole new perspective on things occasionally too. So that's been really nice.
Yeah, and I've even come across people who have written books, and they're like, all the things that we coined terms in the paranormal field, a lot of them came from female investigators that history never acknowledged.
Yep.
But they took the terms. It was like, yes, this is what this word means. Well, where did it come from? Well, it started at this year. Who did it come from? And it's like they don't want to say, oh, this lady doctor, coined this through this research. And it's like, I don't know why that was such a stigma for them, that it's like a threat almost.
Yeah.
But
and go ahead, Pete. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's all right. I was just going to say that it's, I think that's why shows like Paranormal State were so popular when they came out, because prior to that, and nothing against them because they were good shows, but they were mostly guy shows, that were on there, and so you had a show that came out that had Katrina Weidman on it and Heather Taddy, and other females that were on there, and those, some of them are Heather and Katrina, they're still going strong today, but like I think that brought females into the mix then, because they were kind of like, before it was just all guys on the shows, but now you had girls that were like, hey, I can be a ghost hunter too, just like Katrina and Heather, so then you had that population that was coming in, and then that started to form where it wasn't like, okay, well, we're the guys that are, the nerds that are doing this, and those girls are going to make fun of us. They're not going to think we're cool. You know what I mean? Now they're ghost hunting with us and doing this kind of stuff because they think it's awesome as well, because they have some people to look up to, and so they're fans of these people as well. So I think that had something to do with it as well.
Yeah, and like one of the things that drives me crazy, if you get in these Facebook groups or online chats, whatever it is, and there is still so much like sexism and misogyny in some of these groups online that, and again, these two know me and I'm not one to mince words. So I have to engage myself in those conversations on occasion and let these losers know how the world really works and that nobody thinks they're cool. So, it just kills me though that here we are in 2025 and that's still going on.
Yeah, I agree. And we're actually at the hour mark. If you guys are okay, we can keep going. Or if you have to leave,
I'm
let me
okay.
know and we can call it.
I'm okay for a little while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can go a few more minutes. Yeah.
Okay. And, one thing I wanted to mention, and Lee, you brought it up about, it's my pet peeve too, is the throwing around the demon word a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing some panel discussions with the Warren Legacy Foundation, and they shared a case with me. And I like to share this case because I want all the investigators to hear this and take this to heart, that this lady's son was having issues, and she called a paranormal team, and the paranormal team came over and said, "Oh, your son has like 70 some demons attached to him, and we
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
we can't help him, and I don't know of anybody who can." So then she calls the Warren Legacy Foundation, and they're like, "Yes, we can help you. Just we'll get there as soon as we can. It'll be a couple of days, unfortunately, but we can help you. We'll get there." The next day, they get a phone call from the mother, and she says, "You guys don't need to come." And the Warren Legacy Foundation rep is like, "No, trust me, we can help your son. We'll be there. We have a great team coming out." And she goes, "No, you don't understand. My son took his life because they told him he had so many demons attached and there was no hope."
Oh,
And so, to me, I'm like, when I hear paranormal teams going, "Oh, we ran across this demon," I'm like, you guys gotta stop saying that, because you don't know what you
Yes.
run across, and what you say has weight and repercussions. And
Absolutely.
so
mhm.
I'm like, and I don't know who the paranormal team was that said this and was involved with it. They never told me. But I have stated, and I have no remorse about it, but I have stated that team, I hope, feels guilty for what
Yeah.
they
Yes.
did and stopped doing it, because, yeah, that is like, to me, that takes all the work we're doing in the paranormal field to make it legit, make it, real, and bring it into the forefront, back to Stone Age.
Yes.
Because it's like
Yeah.
you just undid all the work we just did.
Well,
Mhm.
and please chime in, all three of you, when I say this. But out of the hundreds of places that I've investigated, I may have questioned in that situation, the demon situation, the evil entity situation, whatever you want to call it, maybe a handful of times. And that's out of hundreds of investigations. And so you get some of these people, like the group you're talking about, that goes and tells someone they have 70 some demons attached to them. Come on, man. Like, I don't have words for that, to be honest with you. That's incredibly upsetting that young man took his life over something that someone who's not even credible said.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the things that I talk about too is, you can have an angry spirit, and or a spirit who's new to the
Mm-hmm.
spirit world, so to speak. And so the scratch mark, I had a guest, she came on the show and she goes, "Look at my arm. And look what happens when I do this." And you could see 3 marks. And she's like, "How do we know that, that's not a spirit trying to get your attention and doesn't
Mhm.
know its strength and accidentally marked you? Now you're going around and saying, here's an evil spirit here." And another team comes and same thing happens, or maybe a mark in a different spot. and they're like, oh yeah, it's an evil spirit, could be demonic. And then another few teams come and says, oh yeah, we experienced this angry spirit, it's demonic. Well, that spirit's going to turn around and go, y'all want me to be demonic, I'll show you demonic. And you're actually in essence creating something that was never there.
Yep. Yeah, when you basically just speak it into existence.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like, no, that can happen. I go, well, here. And Pete, you might be able to attest to this with your work with students, is you have one kid tell one kid how stupid they are. Two more kids come up and tell them how stupid they are. And then another three come up and says how stupid they are. What's that kid going to think? He's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't that be the same thing in the spirit world?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think that unfortunately there's some people who think that their opinions are like the end all for everything and that they know everything about it. There's not a single person in this field that knows everything about the paranormal. There isn't a single person. Everybody keeps learning while they're doing this. And so when you have people that are just coming out there going definitively, oh, this is the way it is. And we've all seen them on the internet. People will get out there and they start calling people hoaxes and, and things like that, and questioning good people and things of that nature. And it's just, to me, that's sickening that they do that kind of stuff. But when people think that they're like the end all, and then they're telling that type of thing to people and saying, okay, well, I'm putting my expert knowledge on you. This is what it is. I think that's completely wrong to do stuff like that. If anything, we should always, with anything, not just the paranormal, but like what you were talking about, like when kids are talking to kids and stuff like that, everything should be positive. Everything. So if somebody's going through a down part in their life, and there's theories out there that sometimes when people are going through a down part, they might be a little bit more susceptible to having those negative type things attracted to them or something like that. But when but that's just a theory, like anything is. So if you have the way that you can combat negativity is with positivity. And so when you sit there and tell them, hey, you know what, you're going through a rough time, but you're going to get through this, and we're going to help you get through it. And if I can't help you, I'm going to introduce you to somebody who can help you, but you are going to get through this eventually.
Mm-hmm. I think it goes back to what I said, where we're talking about the paranormal teams on TV and how they all have merit. I hear people, make fun of or hate on certain individuals that are on these different shows. And like you said earlier, to each their own. Everybody has a different take on this. There's no such thing as an expert, because we are all learning every time we go into the field, every time we watch one of these shows, or read any of the books. And so anybody who just walks up, like you said, and thinks they're the end all be all, quote unquote, paranormal expert, you're wrong. Like that's not the way we should handle this. Every team, whether they be on television or not, there is merit to what everyone is doing. We're all in search of the truth. And if we can work together and cut out the BS, and, you see a bunch of people online all the time talk about para-unity and like, I'm like, yeah, we all preach that, but not everyone practices that preaches it. So I saw that, Kara. They don't. And, no. and some of the biggest advocates that I see online trying to preach para-unity are the very ones that will go out and say, well, I don't like this guy on this show. He's an arrogant douchebag or whatever. And I'm like, have you ever met the guy, or is he doing what the producers of the television show are telling him to do? And he's looking for the same answers you are. Or they'll be like, oh, this guy's so sweet and I love him. Well, again, do you know that guy?
Because some of them.
Because I know a few.
When you know them.
Yeah. When you meet a few of these people that seem so sweet and nice, you will find out vastly different about them. So, and some of the guys that you might think are jerks or whatever, or arrogant or whatever, those are some of the nicest cats that I've ever worked with. So it just, it's all, I guess it's all about perspective, but no, I will preach the para-unity thing, and I will stand by it as much as I can. Like, again, none of us knew each other when we came together for History Alive other than me and Jamie. And I mean, everybody knew each other in passing, I guess, or had heard of each other. But for the most part, none of us had worked together. And then we all, like I said, we all came together. We had a common goal. We all realized that when we met on our very first conference call, we're like, okay, that's one of the things all of us agreed to and all of us preached about. And then we got together and we put that talk into practice. And now I love this team. Like I said, I feel like I've known them for decades. I trust them with my life, and I hope they all feel the same way about me. I think they do. And, we cut up and have a good time, but when it's time to get down to business, we get down to business. So we work very well together, and we want to influence other teams in that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to go with what you're saying about the para-unity, when I was first doing, appearances on people's shows or interviews, and they would say, why are you talking about para-unity? I said, because we need to build a community, and that's the best word for it, is unity in the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, well, that word has been so tarnished and everything. And I said, well, be that as it may, maybe my little legacy of what I'll leave in the paranormal community is maybe take a little bit of, put some luster back onto the word para-unity on a corner. And I'm happy with that. And I was like, yeah, it's time to, like Pete was saying, it's time to stop being negative about things and return to the positive.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to go back to the comment I made earlier about the demon situation. Okay. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I don't like you. Like,
good point.
It doesn't mean we have to be enemies. I'm sure that there are things that maybe I think or Pete thinks or Kara thinks that we don't always agree on everything. Because if you always agree on everything, somebody's lying at some point, let's face it. But just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I don't like you and I'm not going to support what you do.
Yeah. And as you guys were talking about, anybody who's not as scared, is lying. And everybody will always ask me, how many places have you run out of? I'm like, none, because I haven't. And they're like, oh, so you have no fear? I'm like, no, it's not that I have no fear. I just haven't run into a location where I felt like I had to run out. And then I thought about it for a second, and I was like, and I go like for like a second pause, and then I go, yet. So I'm like, I'm sure I'll come across one. I just haven't been there yet. So when that happens, I'm sure, it'll happen. But it hasn't happened to me yet. And so they all were like, oh, it's coming. And they'll kind of back down a little bit. But it's like, it's funny how, people are like, are you really doing this? Are you really going to these places if you haven't run out yet? And it's like, I go to schools. I go to like hospitals, and or hotels. I haven't been to like say a sanatorium, like Waverly Hills or the man, my brain is going blank right now. Winchester Mansion. I'm sure, with all the history that's compacted in there, I'm sure I probably would run out, at the dark if, you're in a place that you are so unfamiliar with, that so much trauma has happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't stepped foot in it yet. And so I was like, I had to correct myself in saying yet.
I mean, that's all of life is a big yet.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we don't know. It's all an adventure.
Yeah. And it seems to like calm people down when you say yet. Cause I was thinking about it, and I think kind of like what you were talking about, Lee, is, we, as investigators with so many years experience, we're like, we start to put ourselves on pedestals and think, oh, we're, up here. We got our stuff together. We're strong. We're this. And we realize we're human too.
Mm-hmm.
So things are going to happen. So it's like we remind people when we say yet, yeah, that person's human. He just hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah. We're all tough and brave and courageous until we're not. And that's, I agree. I couldn't agree with that more. I like that yet. I'm going to steal that from you, I think.
Go ahead. It's like, yeah, and it's like, it's funny when you see people's reactions too, to when you say, yeah, because they're like, they'll start looking at you like, what? And then you go, yeah. They're like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, when it happens, let us know. It's like, yeah, I'll do that. It's like the first thing I'm going to put out. Oh my God, I ran out of this building. It's like, that's not going to be my first statement, but yeah, I'm not going to lie and say, oh, yeah, it looked like I ran out, but no, it's because, something else was going on. I was like, no, if I run out of building, I'm going to be honest, say I ran out of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do know that like all of us are so supportive of each other with things. Like a lot of groups, they have like a lead investigator, lead this or whatever. That doesn't exist with us. There is no lead investigator. We're all the lead investigators. Including Jamie, our tech guy. We're all the lead investigators. So like you'll actually see like when we're like putting stuff on social media. You'll be sharing something up there, and the first time, I may put Kara's name up first. The next time, I may put Jamie's name up first. Then I might put Amelia Cotter's name up first. But you just keep changing it all the time, because you're always putting somebody else up there first. Because we promote each other that much about it. It's not somebody trying to steal the show. It's not somebody trying to say, hey, I'm, the lead investigator or this and that. It's all about, even when we're like filming and stuff like that, it's like, oh, okay, he went last time. Okay, now it's you. Your turn. You're going to go over and do, doing a scene now. Everybody's taking their turns doing things. And then when they come back and tell them what's happening, hey, yeah, tell me what happened. I really want to hear about it, and promoting each other in those type of ways. After everybody does an interview, they're done with the interviews, and I walk away and I'm walking in there and Amelia's like, oh, I really liked your interview. I liked listening to you talk, really, appreciated what you said, that type of stuff. And then when she's done, she comes back and then Lee's standing there. Hey boy, I really liked listening to you. That's really awesome what you said about that. Everybody's always promoting each other in one way or another with it. So everybody's on the same pedestal at the same height. And nobody's trying to be better than anybody else.
It's a true team, a true team.
The cutest thing about that, we all just were doing that for a while. No one was first. We were, all taking turns, all putting each other in different orders. And then we realized one day that we do that. And we're like, oh, we all do that. That's awesome. Like we actually do all like each other, and that was pretty cool when we realized that.
And one last question I have for you guys, because I'll respect the time and everything, is, so if you're, say, filming an episode for your show and say Kara has one experience, not really documentable, but she's had it and she's telling you about it and nobody else has, are you guys like, okay, there's nothing really happening here warranting the TV show, let's move on? Or do you guys stay with it and say, well, if somebody got something one night, or there was nothing this night, maybe next night will be something else and stick with it? Or what's your protocols for that?
Well, I think if one of us has an experience somewhere, we all respect each other enough to know that person's telling the truth about that.
Yes.
So if anything, we want to attack that room harder. We want to go in there and do, hey, boy, we got a good result there. Kara came out of there and said that she had good contact. Let's go in there and let's hit that room again and see if we can contact them again. Like there was one situation where Lee was talking on the spirit box, and I was talking to him, but it was in a room with a female that doesn't respond good to men. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know what, Kara, why don't you start asking the questions? Why don't you start asking the questions, because maybe she'll respond better to a female talking to her. Maybe she doesn't want to talk to me about it. And that's when we got our incredible evidence that popped out. So, we're not afraid to say, hey, you know what? I went in there and struck out, but maybe you might do better, or, hey, I went in there and it was awesome. And then like one of us will go in there and then we're like, hey, you know what? You did better than me, but it must like talking to you better, that kind of stuff. So the egos don't exist. It's if somebody's saying something happened, hey, awesome, I'm glad you got it. Let's see if we can get some more, and if you strike out, then, hey, good for you. I'm glad that you were able to get that experience.
Yeah. And, you asked about, do we move on or whatever? I mean, the last location, and I'm obviously not going to reveal that because that episode's going to be awesome. But I mean, the second day we were there, we filmed for like 16 hours.
It's like all day.
It was like literally all day. And there was activity from the time the sun came up until we left. And I'm sure that when we left, Kara and Jamie still had activity because they spent the night there. So, but you were asking about walking away, and the night before we weren't really getting anything. And then it was just like, boom, like a baseball bat to the face. Like it just came out of nowhere and it did not stop. Mm-hmm. And so, like Pete said, we all trust each other enough, not just on a personal level, but a professional level, that if one of us says, man, this is the room, something's happening here. Mm-hmm. I promise you that we're all, like Pete said, we're all going to attack it that much harder, just out of the personal and professional respect we have for one another's opinions.
Very cool. Yeah. And go ahead, Kara.
I'm just saying yes.
Oh, you look like you were pointing like you had
at him. Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
What he said.
So with the last few minutes left, I'm actually going to take the show back a little bit. Not that I have ever lost control of it, but I just, using some host prerogatives. Kara, where can people find you and what you have coming up?
I can be found Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Kara Phillip and Kara Phillip Official. And that's a good way to follow where I'm going to be. I am also on Paraflix and on my show, Into the Obscure, new season coming soon. And so go subscribe to Paraflix. That's important. It's just what you should do, and watch Into the Obscure. And also on October 4th, I will be in Rock Island at the Rock Island Paracon. And then in November, Days of the Dead in Rosemont in the Chicago area is what I know of so far. October is going to get busy. Who knows what I'm doing, but those are the two that I know of. So come hang out in October in Rock Island.
Very cool. And Lee, how about you?
You can find me at Mr. Lebo Jakes on Instagram and at Official Lee Jacobs on TikTok. I don't have any really cool things coming up to shout out right now because, I wear about 1 million different hats. I represent professional fighters. I represent musicians. I represent actors and do my real day job and do History Alive and do paranormal investigations. So I'm kind of all over the place. And I agree with Kara, like October's coming up. So your guess is as good as mine. Yeah. I know people like to wait till the last minute and then book us out for things. So I'm sure I will be all over the West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee area during the month of October. So like I said, follow me on socials and you'll see where I'm going to be.
Well, how about we let you promote History Alive then?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, History Alive. I didn't even talk about it. Yeah. We've been talking about it the whole time.
Yeah, yes. True. We have been talking about it the whole time. But no, at History Alive on Instagram, History Alive on Facebook, same on TikTok. And the production team does such a fantastic job posting where we are, where we're going to be, clips from the show, interviews with us, interviews with not only the cast but the crew as well. So you get kind of like a behind the scenes taste of them experiencing things while they're filming with us, and it's really cool. I know Darren, our director, just posted some stuff recently with him talking about some of the things that went on, and on that 16-hour day that I was talking about earlier, he was a whole bunch of things were happening to him that day too. So it made it a lot.
Yeah, that was funny. Like that was fun, like fun and funny for me.
Yep.
It's like how excited he was. I loved it.
So where can people watch it if they want to tune in and watch?
I don't think we're allowed to discuss that quite yet.
Oh, okay.
To be determined.
It's TB. There are things in the works, but TBD as of right now. We are kind of on a gag order about that. So
okay,
look for news. Look for news soon. Look for news soon.
Okay, I was just like referencing like a YouTube channel or something, but I can respect that.
No, it's you could check out, like I said, check out clips on all of our socials, but no, there will be big production news coming soon.
Very cool. And then there's Pete.
Well, I have Facebook and Instagram, Pete Ghrist. And then Northwest Indiana Paranormal and Griffith High School Paranormal Society and History of Life TV. I'm on all those socials. As for different like appearances and stuff, we're going to be helping out with a event at the Fowler Theater on the 6th of September. They're actually doing a 4D type version of The Conjuring Last Rites. They're going to have it there. So they're going to kind of have like where there's going to be people kind of moving around inside of the theater, from what I understand, maybe jumping out every now and then and things like that. So yeah, so that's what I'm hearing the plan might be. So it said 4D event on there, and I know they're trying to make it into a really good experience. So we're going to help sell concessions, and then they're even going to do a ghost hunt afterward in the theater. So we're going to help with that with Northwest Indiana Paranormal. So I've even got some of my high school group. They're going to drive down and help out with that as well. So that's going to be cool.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If you've never been to the 1944 Fowler Theater in Fowler, Indiana, you're totally missing out.
It's so awesome. Awesome.
Completely restored.
Yeah.
1940 movie theater. Like it costs $5 to get in for a movie, $1 for a pop. I mean, it's crazy. Plus it's haunted. It's super haunted in there.
Super haunted.
So it's great. I've taken my kids group down there to investigate and everything like that. It's just an awesome place. So we any chance that we get, we always go to there. Actually, Darren Zankin, our director and the creator of History of Life, he was actually married in the theater.
Yep.
So we have that going on. Then with Northwest Indiana Paranormal, I'm going to be going to Madison Seminary at the end of September and the Old Licking County Jail in Ohio. So we're going to be doing those two things. And then I will be at the Rock Island Roadhouse Exoteric Expo with Kara, and Amelia will be there as well. Amelia Cotter. So she'll be there. And I'm going to be giving a presentation actually talking about my high school group and how we are communicating history and preservation using the paranormal to do that. So I'm really, really looking forward to doing that. I'm super, super excited about being part of that. So I'm very apprecitive.
At 1 o'clock, right? 1 to 1:55?
Yep. 1 to 1. Yep. You're right. You're right.
Square.
Yeah, I'll have a table there as well, so it's I'm really going to be looking forward to that. A couple of members of my group are going to go as well, so that'll be nice. And I'm really, really thankful to those of you who made that possible. And then we have we're going to do a Halloween fundraiser, and at the end of October, we're going to be raising money for the Humane Indiana. For animals Not just Humane Indiana is just so encompassing. It's not just stray cats and dogs and stuff, but raccoons and wildlife and things like that. And they repair wings on birds and things like that. So it's just a wonderful thing. And we're gonna have a huge Halloween party and event to raise money and collect things for the animals at Humane Indiana on the 25th of October at the Great Oaks Banquets in Cedar Lake. And then the last thing is I'll be on a panel with Robin Terry from Ashmore Estates. We'll be on a panel we're both first responders, and it's going to be at the Mysteries of the Fort, Paracon in Fort Wayne, and that's going to be November 7th through 9th. We'll be on our panel on the 8th, but we'll be there throughout the weekend. So very much looking forward to that as well.
Wow, you guys are busy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not like October, like she said, you don't know what's going on in October until the phone starts ringing and we need you here.
And it's about that time. It's it's getting to be the end of August, so it'll start probably within the next week. The phones will start ringing off the hook with people wanting things. So,
plus with announcements with History Alive,
yes,
you never know what's going to happen with that, with promoting the show, things like that. So, there's definitely more filming that will be coming up, stuff like that. So, you throw all that into the mix, and we're very busy people, but we wouldn't have it any other way, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right, congratulations to you all. And one thing I would like to give you guys the floor a minute or so to do individually is, for all those that are up and coming or interested in the paranormal, what advice would you give them? Kara, you look like you want to start.
No, well, I look probably the most perplexed. Okay, I'm going to say I got more involved, more immersed, whatever. And this is, I'm gonna bring up Bree Hollingshead, Mysteries of the Forts a little bit. I kind of, I'm even going to like mirror her story. So I'm going to maybe say it from, we talked a lot about women in the paranormal, the perspective. Really just kind of lean in and do the right thing for you, do right for yourself. So whatever that is, so, I mean, I'm not going to say like, this is how you get popular with something. I can't say that, but if you do the right thing, honor yourself, pay attention to what you need and not what somebody else needs from you, you're just going to do better anyway. For me, I think my paranormal journey truly, aside from any ghosts or any, anything, started, I call it the year of yes. I was a nurse for COVID, right? So I was around a lot of death and a lot of stuff. And I said, I'm just going to say yes to everything and do everything. So opportunities are all around us all the time. You just have to say yes to things. Fear stops us from a whole lot of things. And I learned to not be, I'll run down a hallway. I'll run away from something. We talked about running for a while. I sure will, especially if it's a bat. But you could be afraid of stuff, but still just say yes and go do it, as long as you're not actually in danger or whatever. It's, so don't let fear over what other people are going to think, because as we also talked about, everybody's going to talk about you anyway. Everybody's going to have an opinion, no matter what. So do right by you and just choose the path of kindness and light and love for yourself. And amazing things could happen and amazing situations could happen. Just leave yourself open to the world and be willing to embrace it and experience it and do right by you.
Well said.
That's life. That's not even the paranormal. That's just life. But
it works. So, Pete, how are you going to follow that one up?
Oh, that'd be a tough one to follow right there. But no, I feel like I'm still up and coming. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where, at first we're trying to get involved with as many things as we can, just getting started out, not having much equipment, just, people call and you're like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it, and getting involved with it now and stuff like that. And that's the way you get your name out there, but reputation is everything. If you're going out and you're trashing everybody, or you're going out there and you're, having no scruples, you treat people like garbage, you make promises that you don't show up, things like that, then you're going to hold that reputation, that negative reputation, and eventually you're just going to disappear. Like, people don't want you around in the field, stuff like that. If you're going to be unscrupulous, or if you're going to treat people like garbage, or you're going to step on other people to try to put yourself up higher. And we all know people who do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They use other people, stuff like that. And I've worked with some people along the way that have used us, oh, this guy is up and coming, he'll do anything. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He'll run my event for me. I'll just put all the money in my pocket, and he'll just do everything for free and bring all his equipment, So you're going to have those people. Stay away from those people.
Yeah.
Just stay away from them.
You will learn quickly who those people are.
Yeah. Just stay away from them. They're in this for the wrong reasons. They're just, to each their own, with different stuff. Some people run this as a businesses. Other people do this because they want to preserve history. They want to preserve buildings. Those are my reasons for doing it, is the preservation. But but other people have, a different reason than you do for being part of it and stuff like that. But the reputation is everything. Put in the work to do things and show up when you say you're going to show up, and treat people with respect. Promote other people. You see somebody over there that's being a little bit down on the internet, tell them, hey, things are going to get better. You didn't get that opportunity, you'll get the next one, that kind of stuff. But definitely promote other people when they're going, because they might be where you used to be, or they might be ahead of you where you're going to be. But eventually you're going to find that all these people are all going to be working mechanisms. And then, like you said, the year of yes, what you were talking about, I feel like that year has finally started to come where it's like, opportunity. And I'm actually finding where I can go, I want to do that, but I don't want to do that. I want to do that, but I don't want to do that. Where before it was, you had to do everything. You know what I mean? But now we can kind of like pick and choose and just be like, hey, this is a good project, or this is a good person that I want to work with. Yeah. And we found that with History Alive, with DMZ Productions. We've found that it's a gold mine, finding this group, not money wise is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the hearts of the people that are in there. You know what I mean? It's just the hearts of the cast and the crew that are involved in it. Everybody just has that big heart that they want to make this happen and make it be successful. And so I'm lucky to be part of it.
Very cool. Boy, Lee, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes right now.
I mean, I was going to say, what's left to be said? But no, my only advice to someone who's trying to get into this field and get involved is first find a place to volunteer. That was one of the things that really pushed me further into the field. And if you're trying to get involved in the things that we're involved in, whether it be, going to doing cons or trying to do a show, or, even being a guest on podcasts and things like that, volunteer. That's how you're going to get known. But with that comes a lot of responsibility. You've got to work hard, and you have to be kind, because you will be found out really fast in this field. If you are trying to be sneaky, if you're going behind people's backs, if you're trying to use others to solidify yourself in this field, you will be discovered very quickly, and you will be. So some people aren't quite as nice as we are when it comes to this field, as all of us in this podcast know. But you just be kind, man, and help out, like Pete said and Kara said. Say yes, help out where you can. be cautious because there are the people that will try to take advantage of you. But say yes, help out, volunteer, but above all, like I said, be kind.
You know, and it's kind of interesting you say that because I have this year started to notice something that I do at the end of shows now that I don't know why I do, but I love that I do and the impact it is. And it's something that I kind of hinted at with Pete earlier with his service. And what it is to the three of yous, my heart and my show's heart to you three. Thank you and appreciation, and what you do is seen for the paranormal community.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's really touching. It's good to be on that side of things.
Yeah, and I mean, you hear people all the time saying, "Oh, it only takes a few seconds." But that's not what it is. It's not that it takes a few seconds. It's you're making that connection and that, and letting somebody know, that may be having a hard day. Because, I don't know what all, like, Yuli, you were coming from something that could have been hard on you. And by saying that, it's like, wow, you just made the day worthwhile. And it was just a few simple words. But for me, it's authentic and it's my truth. And so I know it comes across that way, and I'm grateful for that. And with that, I'm going to say thank you to all three of you for coming on and doing my show.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
if you guys ever want to come back on, let me know. If you guys, like Pete, if you have something you want to promote, or Kara or Lee, something you want to promote, let me know and I'll see if I can help and make it happen and, work with you guys and have you guys back on.
We'd be honored.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd be honored. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, and I have to say, as a history major and have a bachelor in history, rock history, rock on with that.
Yep.
And so we are going to say good night to everyone and thank you all for watching this pre-recorded episode. So please remember, if you are watching this and if we're not responding, it's because this is pre-recorded and we are not actually in the chat room this time. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will try to get to them as soon as I can. And with that, I'm going to say good night to everyone. Good night.
Good
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.